does that even mean, Bowers game corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review. Today I'm excited to check out Domination from Milton Bradley, a game of strategy and supremacy. This is for 2, 3, or 4 players. I feel like there's an easier way to say that. It's for ages 10 plus. It'll take about, 15 to 25 minutes to play. And I do want to start off by saying Domination used to be a game called Focus, which was actually the 1981 Spiel des Jahres winner from Sid Saxon, of all people. Yeah, so it's got a pretty good pedigree here. It's an abstract strategy game in which you're going to be moving all your pieces around a board that looks like this, trying to dominate your opponents, or focus on... Yeah, I guess that is kind of a dumb name. Anywho, you're going to be trying to dominate your opponents by being the only person who's able to move. It's a very light, simple, abstract strategy game, which is my least favorite genre. But Spiel des Jahres winner, Sid Saxon, it's got to be good, right? Does it stand the test of time? Let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think. Alright then, we're going to take a look at what's in the inside of Domination. So first and foremost, we have our handy-dandy rule sheet. It's really kind of 2 big pages like this, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples, and it's really well done. It should have you up and running in no time at all. And honestly, this is for 3 players, this is for 4 players, so a good chunk of it you're not even going to need. And I can teach you how to play the game right now because it is a very simple game. So in Domination, this goes between 2 and 4 players, and depending on the player count, you will be playing a slightly different game with a couple different quirky rules here and there. Like on a 3-player game, you have a piece that starts on the board, and a 4-player game, you use the whole board, and you can also play as teams. But I'm just going to teach you the 2-player game, and that will pretty much give you a feel for how the other different versions of the game work. Also, when you're first learning the game, there's a very specific way that you're going to have to set it up, which will be right here. You'll memorize it eventually. It's a very simple pattern: red, green, red, 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 red. But when you're first starting the game, you'll need to use that. So in Domination, what you're trying to do is you're trying to make it so that your opponent has no other possible moves they can do. And if at any point your opponent does not have any moves, then you will win the game. I also want to mention that there's a whole bunch of extra components you're not seeing, which are used in the 3- and 4-player version of the game. So on your turn, what are you going to do? Well, it's really quite simple. You can either move 1 space, or you can move more than 1 space of a piece that you control. So let's pretend I'm green, the other player's red. So on my first turn, it's going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to move 1 space. And I can move any of these green spaces 1 space. I could go here, I could go there, I could go here. It wouldn't make much sense. So let's just say I go right here. And now I have taken control of her, I'm assuming I'm playing against a she, red tile. So she now no longer can move this because whoever is on top dominates that particular spot. So on her turn, she might take back control over that. And then on my turn, I might say, you know what, I'm going to go right here. And on her turn, she might go right there. And this is where the game kind of gets interesting because we've only been moving 1 space. Now, the other action you can take on your turn is to move more than 1 space. But the only way you can do that is if you are moving a piece that has more than 1 piece on it. So this has 2, which means this piece can move 2 spaces. So now I could go 1, 2, which would be huge because I have now captured this, and it's at 5. And 5 is the most pieces you can have on 1 spot. And I'll show you what's going to happen in a second when we go over that. So let's just say they go 1, 2, so they can capture my piece. And so now I'm going to move this, and I have a couple different choices. I can move it 5 spaces and just take the whole stinking thing and go 1, 2, you know what, actually, could I do it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think I can capture this. You also can't double back. There's a couple minor rules, like you can't double back, you can't, like, do some other weird things, and you'll pick those up really quickly. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what's going to happen now is this is at 6. This is 6 high, which, as I mentioned, you can only go to 5 high. So you're going to take the very bottom piece, or the very bottom pieces, because you can go up to 7, 8, 9, 10 even potentially, and it's going to go one of 2 places. If it's your piece, it's going to go right here into what's called your reserve, and I'll explain how that works a little bit later. It's very, very useful. But if it's your opponent's piece, that piece is dead. It is completely out of the game. It is never coming back. So now I've made that move, and red has a very obvious move here, which is to, boom, take control of this piece. Now, we take off the bottom piece, and the bottom piece is actually red's reserve piece, which means it goes into the reserve area, which is right over here. And the reserve area gives you 1 additional action, which I'll tell you about after my turn. So on my next turn, I would probably regain control of this, which means I would also get something into my reserve. And then my opponent would go. And they have a couple different choices. Actually, let's go ahead and show you how this works. So let's pretend that this piece looks like this. So another action you can do, instead of moving this 4 spaces, because it is 4 tall, what my opponent could do was take the top 2 pieces and go 1, 2. And now, actually probably want to go 1, 2. Yeah, that'd be a great move for her, because she now has control of this and this space, and this is a 2 and this is a 3. So what you can do is you can kind of break up pieces. I'll give you another example. So let's say I wanted to move this one. I can move this one only 1, 2. And in this particular instance, I now have control over 2. And you could do 2, you could do 3, you could do 4, any numbers of the above. Now let's talk about the reserve pieces right here. The final action you can take. So you can move 1 spaces, you can move more than 1 space, or you can take one of your reserve and you can place it anywhere on the board. So let's just say, my opponent has this big stinking behemoth over here. And in this particular position, there's nothing I can do to stop it because I don't have anything that's right next to it. So what I might do on my reserve is just go, bam, place that right on top, get this back, because, hey, that's free money and I've taken control. But then what she might do is just go, bam, but then this would go out of the game. But that's how the reserve works. You just place it anywhere out, and that's the end of your turn. Eventually, what's going to happen is it's going to get to the point where only one person is able to take a turn, at which point they will be the winner of Domination. And that, in a nutshell, is how the game is played. Alright then, Domination from Milton Bradley. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side. Game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. 2 to 4 players, restricted player count. Also, it is abstract strategy. There's no theme. They didn't even attempt to squeeze a theme into this game. And if you don't like abstract strategy games, this one might not be for you. That being said, I'm not the biggest fan of abstract strategy games. And I'm going to tell you this game is great. Not good. This game is great. But we'll get onto that a little bit later. Continuing on with the con side, I wasn't the biggest fan of the team version of the game. I actually liked it best as a 4-player free-for-all. But that being said, there is player elimination in the game, potentially. Not potentially. There's player elimination in the game when you're playing at 3 and 4 players, but it's gonna be such little downtime that it's not gonna be a big deal because this game really does fly by pretty quickly. But it is something that I did want to mention. Also, every single game is gonna feel pretty much samey because it's just moving colors around a board, and based on how high those colors are stacked, you get to do different things. So there's no real bells or whistles, so if you're expecting a different play experience from time to time, not going to be for you. It is a very vanilla abstract strategy game in that aspect. The box is also it's one of these stupid big boxes, which I hate these stupid big boxes, because it doesn't need to be that big. They really could have made this like a much smaller game. I think it would have been a little bit better, but these are all nitpicks because I don't really have too many cons with this game. There's not too many glaring things that I can say, oh, this is bad about the game. This really detracted from my play experience. I didn't have any of those. Moving on to the pros, Domination went over incredibly well in my classroom and also incredibly well as a 2-player adult game. So if you like abstract strategy games, this is definitely one that I don't say this very often, I think is worth searching down. If you find this at a thrift shop, absolutely pick this one up. Make sure it's got all the components. That's very important. It's easy to learn, it's easy to teach, there's a very good deal of strategy, and it's snappy, which I like. It doesn't have to say it's welcome. I liked it at all the different player counts, and while I said I wasn't the biggest fan of the 4-player team version of the game, it still wasn't bad. I still didn't think it was a bad game. I still enjoyed it more than I enjoyed most of the abstract strategy games that I review on this channel. And this is the kind of game that I wish there was an extra bell or a whistle thrown in, but it doesn't need it because it's a really rock-solid game. It's an incredibly well-designed game, and I can see why it won the Spiel in 1981, and it's one that I can recommend. If you happen to find it, definitely check this one out. Kids in my class really liked it. They liked it an awful lot. And there's not really too much to tell you about this. That's pretty much what I got because it's such a very simple game. So in the end, Domination, a game of strategy and supremacy, is a great game that I absolutely can recommend if you like abstract strategy games. Now the question is, am I going to keep the game? And the answer is no. I'm not going to keep the game because I don't keep too many abstract strategy games. You look behind me, if you somehow, or in my basement right now, and you look all around, there's not very many abstract strategy games because it's my least favorite genre. And also, this is just a game that I don't see getting played that often just because I don't play abstract strategy games that often. Duh, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm going to be giving this away to a kid in my classroom who I'm sure is going to play the living snot out of it, because the kids in my class really like this game. Like, a couple of them were like, this is my favorite game. What was it? Amaya, what did she say? She said, this is my favorite game I've played about nothing. And I was like, that's a good way to put it. Yes, it's a game about nothing, but it's still a really great game. So it is a great game. Not a really great game, a great game. So there's Domination from Milton Bradley. If you like abstract strategy games, it's really great. If you don't like abstract strategy games, I still think this is going to be a great game for you. Check it out if you get the chance to. If you enjoyed this review, please click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know. What is your favorite Spiel des Jahres winner? Oh, man. That's a toughie. I'm trying to remember what has won the Spiel des Jahres. I feel like I need to pull it up, but if I pull it up, it's going to be incredibly unprofessional right now, because this is not the time to do it. So I'm actually trying to talk to you really fast so I can rack in my brain and think about the different Spiel des Jahres winners were. Off the top of my head, the ones that come to my mind are Ticket to Ride and Hanabi. So I'm going to go with Hanabi, because I did give that one a Bauer's Best Seal. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Still in my collection. Still one that if anybody even says, if anybody mutters the word Hanabi, like, yeah, let's do Hanabi. They're like, I just said wasabi. I said, no, but we're playing Hanabi. But yeah. Let me know in the comments below your favorite Spiel des Jahres winner. You can probably go do a quick Google search, but I can't. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.